What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is time for part number 3 of daily number 529, where, as it turns out, we learn to be a better gamer. We are looking at Polt's alternative styles to the Terran vs. Zerg matchup. We're looking at a variety of replays, not from the IPL 5 main tournament, but they're the strategies that he did use in the IPL 5 main tournament to successfully defeat a lot of powerful Zergs like Violet, Sniper, in the games where he did these types of things. So, again, if you want to check those out, go check out, I think it's IGNProLeague.com. Should have the VODs up. And these replays I'll be posting a link to as well on my website, day9.tv. These games are exploring this whole concept of a different aggression curve. We looked at the aggression curve of this blue player, Bomber, just trying to dump everything into this. But we're seeing a lot of cool stuff that happens here. And I showed you the exact same builds 2 times in a row. God, I keep Control-S-ing. I showed you the exact same build 2 times in a row in part 2. In this one, I'm going to show you a wildly different build that still peels back to the same idea of early aggression with Marauders, delayed medevacs, and of course delaying on our upgrades. Nice! I.e. the unit heavy one. Now this opening is super slick. This is really cool. Was there a word for that? I guess I'd call it a metagame preparation as opposed to a metagame play. A metagame play is where you say, dude, all the Zergs are early expanding. So I am just going to blindly build 2 barracks right by his base and hope he's early expanding. And if he's not, I'm screwed. Or the Zerg player who's going, man, all the Protosses are doing this Nexus first freaking Immortal push. I'm going to 8-pool, even though I suck at that, because I want to kill him! That's a metagame play, and it normally is made with that sort of emotional weight. But when I say a metagame preparation, I would say it's one of these things where you're thinking, okay, a lot of times people do this, so I'm going to prepare a whole strategy against that, even though it's really weird and wild, just because it's a good way to exploit that. But I'm not going to do it unless I get a signal, right?
SCV ready.
Normally I would call normal preparation the other direction, where you're going, okay, well, I'm going to do an early expand build and try to perfect my early expand build against all the different possibilities. You know, my build versus the world sort of preparation is considered standard by most. But this is a cool metagame move where here's another build that we kind of have hiding that we might do. Now follow through the logic. Obsidian is TSL Polt in this game. The cool man is just a person who's... That's fucking cool, man. He's just some Zerg. So what we're going to see out of Obsidian is Polt is going to check. I want you to see those very specific points that he does. Look at this. He's literally getting just in range of the gas. Doom, doom, doom. All right. Check. And then come down here. Look at this point. Check, back. Instantly pulls back. Just checks the gas. What does that mean? Probably not early ling speed. Probably not. The cool man is probably going to be using queens to defend himself early on. Probably. Most of all, he's not going to attack us with slowlings. That's just frickin' bad. And also, there's not really anything else that can threaten us. Sure, you can maybe make roaches, but we have time, at least. This is something that Zergs used to never do. Zergs would always be taking a single gas early, but lately they have been going for just the queens. So check this out. Check this out. This dude who's building this here supply depot,
SCV ready.
he is going to he's going on an incredible journey. And look, once more, just another little double check. Check here. Check there. Aha. In the metagame, queen-only defense is very popular. The no-pressure style defense. So we're going to go ahead and build another command center right frickin' here.
Coming through.
And as another sweet little bit, notice how most of the time an Overlord's here, and it can actually see stuff. So we will be rallying to these minerals and not to these bottom ones. So cool. And then other than this, what are we going to see Polt do? TSL Polt is just going to go for double refinery as normal. Build Marines. Even put on a little bit of pressure as normal. It's fine that our factory is delayed because we need extra Marines anyway to defend here and to build a bunker and defend here.
SCV ready.
Upgrade.
We might kill something, we might lose some stuff. No big deal. We did the pressure.
SCV ready.
We're damn near certain that he's not going for any sort of early
SCV ready.
speed or something. In fact, the cool man is going for ridiculous layer tech.
SCV ready.
But then, look at what we're going to see Polt do with all his extra money. Most of the time, what people are going to want to do is go for Hellion Banshee and double upgrades even faster than before. But Polt still favoring units over them upgrades. See this? See this right there? He's still doing this. I would say that
Upgrade.
the way we can look at this is by doing a little green branch offline for this game, where we're really seeing Polt do something that looks a little bit more like this. Actually, yeah, it's this middle section I think I messed up. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, this is a little bit more what this curve looks like. Yeah, there we go. It should come up a lot earlier like that. Yeah, he's delaying it by taking this third base, but he's still going to be doing the same aggression. God, these paint graphs are the shit. This is great. With a little bit of extra money,
Add-on complete.
Polt can still get some reasonably early upgrades, but not at the cost of this other jazz.
SCV
Look at
ready.
this. Still straight tech lab, instant Marauder production. Something a little bit cute is actually going for double reactor instead of for tech lab reactor. A little bit more delayed in that regard on the Marauders, but still just blind Marauders. What has he seen? Nothing that would indicate that the Marauder would be super powerful, like the Roach, but no matter what, the Marauders are going to be good for our mid-game aggression because they're good against Lings, slow Banelings, and slow Roaches. So here's our, by general measurements of the matchup, considered slower upgrades, still quite fast, but
Additional
slower than your average norm. Polt tries to do some harassment,
base is under attack.
and we again see this kind of usual little mix of Marine, Marauder, Hellion in the mid-game. It's kind of a close game. Our early expansion ends up netting us a loss on workers.
Research.
Cool.
SCV ready.
Fantastic.
Go, go, go.
But rather than being the passive Terran of the norm, instantly starts stepping on up when 1-1 upgrades finish. Great. If our opponent didn't make Roaches, if our opponent tried to go for an expand, we'd still be doing a push. It would be much bigger because we wouldn't have had all these units left. Because there are units, we just do some standard kiting. Because of our upgrades, these Zerglings are not very good at killing us. It's still not going very well.
I'm in a heap of trouble. This better be good.
But, yeah.
SCV ready.
I don't think there's anything too much more noteworthy than that at this point in time. Yeah, and here we see an earlier command center, just thanks to our early third, so we can start to see why this is getting a lot higher a lot earlier. So yeah, that's the daily. Hope you guys enjoyed that segment. Let us recap, and let us come back to these graphs, where I'll hit the Control-Z button a couple times. Good. In this daily, we began by looking at this normal curve. This is the way that normal Terran versus Zerg works. And sure, sometimes you might plant down some Blue Flame Hellion aggression, or, you know, you're doing your usual Hellion Banshee and maybe you do a bust. But for the most part, it's all dumped into this attack. In parts 2 and 3, we saw, oh, there's some mid-game aggression potential you can do. In part 2, especially, we saw how powerful the Marauder aggression can be. In part 3, we got the chance to see, well, if your opponent does build a lot of damn units, as we see here, we have like Roaches and Lings galore all game long, we won't be able to do as much damage, but Zerg has already damaged himself. getting a late third. Our fourth is going to be beating the Zerg's fourth. Our upgrades are looking very, very good as well. And I think most importantly of all, we saw that by drilling our opponent with this Marauder aggression in the mid-game, we end up messing up the Zerg's ability to power. This Zerg, it's 1332. He's still under the desired 75 drone count. He's just now building infestors. His hive has not yet begun. Excellent. So we've gotten a chance to explore an alternative way to play Terran versus Zerg that is heavily underutilized. And I think that the real key unit is the Marauder. Has a lot of life. It can take a beating from Queens, Lings, and Banelings alike. In fact, probably the best unit to build against it is the Marauder. Or excuse me, probably the best unit to build against the Marauder is the Roach in those early circumstances, but if you're building a lot of Roaches to deal with this force, you're cutting away your gas from your upgrades, your lair, your infestation pit, the infestor upgrades, everything. That was great. Let's take some questions. Going to Monkey Ochoa's question grabber. Day9 is my login name. Oh, internal server error. Markio, did I type in your thing wrong? Oh, I don't know why it's not working. Oh, I'm not knowing why it's not working. From Thirsty Gulu, Day9, isn't what Pult is doing conflict with your ideas of keeping play consistent? Looking at part 3 specifically, is this only a good idea due to metagame, or is this kind of play alright regardless? Let me talk about part 3 specifically. The idea is that when it's not that Pult is going to 100% of games do the triple command center and pray that this guy is going for queens. Instead, he's going to say, okay, this build is good against quadruple queen defense early on. This build is good if he doesn't get gas. So what we saw Pult do aggressively at the start is check for any gas geysers. He checked twice at really key times and then went, all right, are we clear for triple nexus play? Or excuse me, are we clear for triple command center play? All right, good, excellent. Let's go ahead and do this. If Pult didn't scout that, if Pult went in there and saw that gas geysers were going down, he'd probably just build 2 refineries, build a factory, build 2 more barracks, and do this straight push the same way he's been doing the entire time. So that is the key thing to note about that. The one thing that I will note is that Pult is very consistent with this build, or excuse me, with the build that we saw in part 2. Very, 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 very consistent. He's real good at winning with it. It demands some micro, and it's possible for micromanagement failures. If you see a player with, for instance, a lot of roaches, you kind of have to pull back. It's difficult to go face-to-face with a ton of roaches. Nerchio defeated Pult doing exactly that when they played. But fortunately, if your opponent builds like 20 roaches, that's 20 times 25 minerals, it's like, or 25 gas, it's like 500 gas that your opponent has burned on roaches. That's a pretty good amount. That's as much as it takes to start getting +2/+2 upgrades for Zerg. That's more than it is for 3 infestors, that sort of thing. Yeah. Let's go ahead and take 3 more questions and then let's go. Wise Man 2024 says, Day9, how does this push deal with an early Spire? Wouldn't that be a hard counter to it, especially if the Marine count isn't that high? Interestingly, it is not. You die real freaking fast if you go for an ultra-fast Spire, because ultra-fast Spire, first of all, he can't get the Spire like hyper stupid fast because you're building Hellions and you're putting pressure at the front. So you have to delay just a smidge, just a little. If you do delay the layer just a little bit and then he goes for Spire, this attack comes right at the time when the Mutalisks would be popping up or a little before then. So you must stay at home to defend. And if we look back at that game, it's 10 to 12 Marines going up against 6 to 8 Mutalisks. The Mutalisks are gonna die. Or they're at very least gonna be dwindled down badly. And then you have 12 Hellions and some Marauders trundling into your base. It's stupidly hard to defend this push if you go for 2-base Spire. Really, 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 really hard to do. It's all in the timings. And in fact, one thing that oh yeah, we did see that in part 2. Yes, cool. I did remember to do that. The attack also hits oftentimes before the upgrades are done, or at the very least right before, so he has to pull his stuff back and wait a little bit. So that's one of the coolest aspects of it. Let's go ahead and take one more question. I'm so pleased with how that daily went. I'm like really happy. Yay! Wow. Oh, and let me again. Okay, I'm gonna take this and then one more. It's from Cute Me Silly, or excuse me, Cut Me Silly. Says Day 9. Is it counterintuitive that none of these Zergs got to build Infestors, or is that the entire point? That these Zergs were under so much pressure that Infestors simply weren't possible to acquire in those viable numbers? Yes, that's literally the point of this build. That we don't have to deal with mass impesta. Because pretty much anything that we would need to build to defend these kinds of pushes burn gas. And burn time, most importantly. The earliest Mutalisks or Infestors can pop up on 2 bases is about 10 minutes. And on 3 bases, it's 11 to 12. So we're really not giving him the opportunity to get that. And then if we just continue to pressure, in other words, if we continue to do stuff right here, oh yeah, this is when the Infestor count is climbing up. This is when Zergs are going Infestor Drone, right in this period. Infesta Drone, nonstop. This gets in the way of that. So, interestingly, when you watch Polt's late game, he'll have a lot of beefy units. Marauders, tanks, Thors, not that many Vikings and Marines. And then he just unsieges his tanks and marches forward, and he'll pick off a lot of Infestors. I want you to go look for that in Polt games. The amount of times he has unsieged tanks during Broodlord Infestor fights. It's really remarkable. Let's do yet one more question. Let's see here. Juga Jackson asked the perfect question. Day 9, is this build adaptable to mech? Or does it only work in bio-focused play? Absolutely great question. I don't know precisely how it would work if you were going for mech. It actually makes me wonder if you could do something like have 2 barracks building Marauders with Hellions, and then you lift the 2 barracks and just build factories right on those 2. Those ex-Tech Lab dudes. And then you still put on the same amount of pressure. That might be a pretty sweet way to play it off. Actually, that sounds awesome. Actually, that sounds fucking great. Huh. What about that? I don't know. But the way it would probably look is that there is some period in here where instead of it being Marauder aggression, it's Hellion and Hellion drop pressure. I don't think that Hellion, because Hellion Banshee really only achieves this much pressure, but the drops could be a little bit more potent. I have seen people do pushes with Thors, but it's kind of tough because you can't run with them. The only time I've seen pushes in this matchup are here's a style that might work. It's where you open up with a barracks with reactor, and then you get a factory for tanks, and then you get 2 more factories with no add-ons. So you're going Marine, or double Marine production, double Hellion production, and 1 tank. And you can build a barracks just off to the side of the map, and you do a push with a lot of Marines, Hellion tank. And then that barracks you built off to the side, you lift and you float and use as a spotter for the tanks. That can actually give Zergs quite a bit of problems because the tanks kind of act like the replacement Marauder. They absorb a lot of hits. Unsiege, they do tremendous damage to roaches. The roaches don't have speed. And then you might have a transition opportunity out of that. I think that would be a potential use for it, but again, it would be designed to exploit the fact that he's only going to have queens, zerglings, banelings, and roaches with no speed upgrades, except maybe for the zerglings. So that's going to wrap up daily number 529. Thrilled with how this went. Let's do more next week. Mwah! Or this week. Let's do more dailies this week. This is a full week's worth of dailies that I'm doing NASL on Saturday and Sunday. And then the week after that, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for dailies. And then I'm on Christmas break. I'm going to a snowy cabin in Michigan. Hope you guys have a good time studying for your final exams. You're going to do great. Good luck. Cheers!